An onboarding screen is an introductory screen a user sees when they open a new app for the first time. In this video, we will learn how to create these interactive and eye-catching onboarding screens infused with branding and services, all designed with beautiful aesthetics and just the right touch of basic animations. We will achieve all this without using any third-party packages, and we will only use Flutter basic widgets. Welcome to my YouTube channel. My name is Orhan and I am a Flutter developer with experience of more than 3 years. So without any further delay, let's start coding. So I have already created a project with the name of onboarding screens and cleaned the default code that we get with the new project. So the things that I have added beforehand is these asset images. I have two asset images, first with the name of character1 and second with the name of character2.png. Both of them are in PNG format. So after that, I have also created a directory with the name of screens that include two Dart files with the name of first onboarding screen and second onboarding screen. In both the screens, I have only used a stateful widget and represented the screen number with the text widget in the center. I have also created a directory with the name of widgets, and for the assets, I have added assets in the pubspec YAML file so that we can use these images inside our project. So without any further delay, let's run our application. In a moment our application will be up and running. Let's wait. As you can see that the application is loading and it is showing a first screen because in the main.dart file I have called the first onboarding screen. So now let's take a look what we are going to create. So there is a heading at the top and a subheading below that, and after that there is an image that a user can swipe around and the title will be changed, and at the last we have a button with a draggable behavior. So first of all, what we will do is we will remove this code that we have already done, and we will give a background color to our scaffold, and we will set the color equal to colors.deal. And if we reload our project, you can see that the background color is changed. And now after that, as you know, we want to arrange our widgets in a vertical format, so we will use a column, and inside column we will set the main axis alignment equal to main axis alignment dot center. And after that we will use a text widget, and inside text widget we will pass a text string deliver, and we will give it a style, and for style we have to use text style. And inside text style, first we will change the size and we will set it equal to 60. And now if we reload our project, you can see that there is a text deliver on the screen. And after that, let's change the font weight. We will set the font weight equal to bold, font weight dot bold, and we will change the color of our text to colors dot white. And now if we reload our project, you can see that the text is in white and bold, but it is not in the center of our mobile screen. So first, for that we can wrap our text field inside a center widget, and now our text is right in the center of our application. So we need to have another text widget to show our subheading. What we can do is we can code it all the above again, or we can simply copy the code what we have done before, and we can simply paste it down below. In my case, I have done that, and for the text string, I have changed the text string to deliver and delight, your world, your order, your way, because I am going to develop a delivery app, so I have done my branding according to that. You can change it to anything you want. So next what we will do is we will change the font size to 14, and we will set the font weight to font weight dot normal. Now if we reload our project, you can see that the subheading is right below the heading where we want it to be. So after our subheading, we need to have an image right below it. So for this purpose, what I will do is I will use a size box with a width of 350, and I will give it a height of 350. And for the child, I will use image.asset, and inside this I will pass the assets, the path of the image that where it is present. In my case, it is inside the assets directory with the name of character-1.png. To remove this error, we have to remove this constant from the top, and now to remove this yellow warnings, we have to import the constant modifiers at the corresponding places or the respective places. So now if we reload our project, you can see that the image is right below the subheading where we want it to be. So if we try to swipe it, it is not animating right now because we not implemented the functionality. We will achieve the animating functionality after we have created our complete structure of our first onboarding screen. So now what we will do is we will develop our draggable button that is going to be at the bottom of our mobile screen. So what for this what we will do is I will use a container widget, and inside this for the width I will use media query dot of context dot size and dot width minus 80. What I am trying to do here is I am trying to get the size of the screen or the media on which the app is running, and then minusing the 80 pixels from it. So for the height I have used 80, and for the decoration of the container we are going to use box decoration, and inside box decoration I will pass the color, and for color I am going to use colors dot white with the opacity of 0.2. Let's give it an opacity of 0.2, and now if we reload our project you can see that there is a faint white box at the bottom of our screen. So now let's give it a border radius. For border radius we will use border radius dot circular, and inside this I am going to pass 40 pixels. And now if we reload our project you can see that the container have circular edges now, which looks more beautiful now. So after that what we will do is we will use a child widget, and for the child widget I am going to use a stack, and inside stack, as you know, we have to pass the children array, and inside children array first of all first widget that I am going to use is align, and inside align I am going to give the alignment to alignment dot center, and after that I am going to use a child and inside the child I am going to use container widget, and for the container first of all let's give it a padding. For the padding I am going to give a padding for edge inserts dot only from the left 20 pixels, and after that what I will do is I am going to pass a child widget text. Inside text I am going to use a string get started, and to style this string, as you know, we have to use text style, and inside text style first of all what we will use is we will change the font size, and we will set the font size equal to 20, and for the font weight I am going to use font weight dot bold, and after that what I will do is I will change the color of the text, and for this we will use color and colors dot white. Now let's reload our project, and as you can see that get started is right in the center of our white backgrounded container. So now after that what I am going to use is I am going to use another container at the top of our align widget, and for this container I am going to provide a width of 80 and a height of 80, and for the decoration we are going to use box decoration, and inside box decoration I am going to use colors dot red with a shade dot shade 200. So I want it to be very light red color. So for the border radius I want it to be circular. There are two ways to achieve this. First we can change the border radius and give it a border radius dot circular to 40, and the second one I will explain it later. Now if we reload our project you can see that there is a circular widget or container at the left of our main button. So after that in the container we are going to use a child widget, and for the child we are going to pass another align widget and set its alignment to alignment dot center. So this time I am going to give it a child container, and for the container we will use a width 80, and after that we will give it a height of 70, and in the decoration we will use box decoration. So now as on our previous container we use border radius to give it a circular shape. For this there is a shape parameter inside the box decoration that we can use, and we can simply use it to box shape dot circle, and for the color we will use colors dot red. So let's remove this warning by adding constant, and now if we reload our project you can see that there is another circular container right in the center of our previous container. So now what we will do is for this container I am going to use another center widget with a child icon, and for the icon we are going to use icons dot chevron icons dot chevron underscore right, and now for the size we can change the size of it, and for the size I am going to use 40 pixels, and for the color of it I am going to use colors dot white. And to remove these yellow warnings, we have to add the constant modifier. And now if we reload our project, you can see that there is a beautiful arrow in the center of our previous container. So now we have completed our structure, but we need to have spaces in between them. What we can do is we can remove this main axis alignment dot center for the column, and in space of that we can use a spacer widget that is defined in Flutter. We will give it at the top, and now if we reload, you can see that all the widgets inside of screen are pushed down below. What we can do is we can add a spacer right after every widget where we want it to be. Let's add spacer right at the bottom. So now you can see that it's taking equal space. The spacer widget is dividing them equally. So now let's add spacer widget at the top of the image, and below the image let's add a spacer widget. And if we reload our project, you can see that now our application our first screen is done without animation, and the spaces are equally divided. That's why we can use spacer widget if we want to make an equal distance between our widgets. So now, as we have completed our structure for our first onboarding screen, we can move toward implementing the animating functionality. So first of all, what we will do is we want to make our image movable to the left or the right, or when the user swipe it to the right, it will move to the right, or when it to the left, it will move to the left. So for this purpose we can use a transform widget at the top, and for the required arguments we will use the transform required argument that is required for the transferred widget to be used. And inside transform what we will do is we will use matrix 4 and we will pass dot translation values, and inside this we have three axes x, y and z. We will just change the y axis to 0 and z axis to 0, and we will only use the x axis because we are going to move the image only in the horizontal way. So for the x axis, what we will do is we will use image offset dot dx. We will have to define this image offset. What we will do is we will go to the top of our screen, and inside this we will use final image offset is equal to offset dot 0. That's how we will initialize our image offset, and we have to use a semicolon at the end. Let's copy from it image offset, and now if we go back towards our code, you can see that the error is removed. So now if we reload our project and try to swipe it, it is not yet moving in either direction, or the left or the right. So what we will do is after that what we can do is we will wrap our sized box inside a widget, and we will change it to gesture detector. Gesture detector, we use this widget to get the gestures of the user, like if the users click on it or long press or just press it. So in our case we will use on pan update. For this it will return us a details argument that we can use down below. So inside on pan update we will use a condition. For the condition we will use if the image offset dot dx dot abs is less than or equal to 120 pixels. Then we want to execute some functionality. What does this mean is if the user swipe or image to 120 pixel to the left or the right, then the changes will appear. So what we will do is we will copy we will make this title dynamic, so we can change it whenever the user swipe or image. So for this purpose we will do is we will use a string, and we will give it a name of title text, and we will set it equal to deliver, because for the first time we want to show the deliver. So now copy this title text, and we can replace this static deliver text that we have done. And as you can see that now we have to remove this constant from the top that we are using right at the top from the center widget. Let's remove this, and now it is resolved. And now to get rid of these yellow warnings, we can add constant modifier. So now in the set state, what we can do is we can change the title text equal to order, and let's add a semicolon at the end. So we have completed our on pan update method. So now if we reload our project, let's restart our project so that the animation functionality can take place. And now if we try to swipe this, you can see that the image is not moved but the title is changed. So now to move the image, what we will do is we can use another gesture detector method, that is on pen end. So when the user ends it, so what the movement of the image or the gesture what he is doing to the left or the right, what we will do is we will just simply set state, and we can change the title text again from order to deliver. So now if we reload our project, you can see that let's restart our project so that it can take place. And now if we try to swipe it, you can see that if the user has pressed, it is changed to order, and whenever the user pick his finger above, it is changed back to deliver. So our animation is working. So now what we want to do is we want to change the image also, so that the image position is also changed whenever the user swipes it. So what we can do is we can simply use image offset, and inside this so why to resolve this error, at the top we have set it equal to final, so we cannot change the value down below. We can set it equal to offset, we will use the type offset. And now what I have done is I have used an offset, and I have changed the offset, the details argument that we are getting, and I have added it to the offset of the image on the x-axis, and y-axis is equal to 0. And when the pen end or the user remove the gesture, we are again setting the offset to 0. Now if we restart our application, let's wait for a moment. Now application is restarted. Now if we try to swipe our image, you can see that the image is moving left and right, but right in the center of the screen, it doesn't look like that it is in a inclined form, or it doesn't seem right. So what we can do is we can rotate our image. For the transform widget, we can use double dot rotate z, and inside the rotate z it requires an angle on which the image will rotate or transform. In our case, what we will do is I am going to use image offset.dx and divide by 20. Whatever the offset is, we will divide it by 20 and then multiply it with pi 3.14 and again divided by 180 to make the value less inclined. So now what we will do is we have to restart our application to observe the changes. So now if we restart our application and try to swipe it, as you can see that it's a little bit upward when it moves to the left and downward whenever it moves to the right. So now our animation for our screen is working fine. So what we will do is we will move towards a button functionality. For the button functionality, as you have seen above in our image case, we will use gesture detector and same two methods on pan update, so that whenever the user is on the screen pressing it, or whenever the user takes its finger above the screen, we will know. So in this case we will use on pan update, and same it will return the details, and we will check again. We will check that if the details dot delta dot dx is greater than 0, so even if the user have moved a minimum portion of the screen, and we will check the button offset. If the button offset is less than equal to button width minus 80, the total button width that we are using is less than 80, and then we will set state, and inside set state we will use button offset plus equal to details dot delta dot dx, and at the end we will use semicolon. So now to use a button offset and button width, we have to define it beforehand. So what we will do is we will again come to the top of the screen, and this time we will use a double value to define the button offset, and we will set it equal to 0.0. and in case of button width, what we will do is how we can achieve is because we are using media query to get the width of the screen at the current time, we can use inside our build method. So inside build method, what we can do is we can use a double data type, and we will give a name of button width, and we will paste our code that we are using below. So it will change the button width at the current time. So all the errors are gone, As you can see that the errors are gone, and we can remove this code from here and we can replace it with button width, because if we have defined it at the top inside our build method. So now we have made our width for the container dynamic. So what we will do is we need to add the gesture detector, another method to know whenever the user starts pushing the screen, or whenever the user remove his fingers from the screen. So for this purpose we will use on pan end, and inside on pan end we will use a condition. Inside our condition, what we'll do is we will check the button offset. If the button offset is greater than the button width or divided by 2, then we will set state. And inside set state, why we use set state? We use set state to change the state of the variable, as you know beforehand. So inside our set state we will set the button offset equal to button width minus 80. So what we can achieve more in this is we can also navigate to the second screen whenever the button is right at the top, at the right of the container. Then we can simply navigate to a different screen. Or if the button offset is not greater than the button width, what we want to do is we want to set the button offset equal to 0. So what in this scenario what we are going to achieve is whenever the user is going to drag the container, if the user is in the center of the screen, let's drag it. So now the container is not dragging. So the issue that we are facing is we haven't changed the container to animated container. Let's replace this container to animated container, and it requires a parameter with the name of duration. We will add the required parameter duration, and for the duration we will set the duration, and we will set it equal to 200 milliseconds and add constant modifier. So now if we reload our project, let's change this width to button offset plus 80, because we want to move it to the right side of the white container button. So now if we reload our project, let's restart our project to make our animated functionality working. So now let's add a print statement also here to know that if it is at the end of the screen. Let's add a working. So now if we restart our application, let's wait for a moment. Our application is restarted. Let's check our image, it's working fine. And now if we drag this button, you can see that the red button is staying behind, but the light button behind that we have used red, it's moving at the end of the screen. You can see that it's working because it's at the end of the screen. But this red icon, red circular button or circular container, we want it also to the end of the container. So how can we resolve this is we want it to move to the left, and we are using stack. So inside our alignment we have used center. We have to set it to alignment.center right. So now if we restart our application, let's check our application that if it's working or not. The image is working fine. It is changing the title. And now if we drag our button, you can see that if we start dragging it before the half of the button, it will move back. And now if we keep it dragging from the half of the button forward, it will simply complete its path on its own. So now what we can do is on pan end we can use a navigator. A navigator is used to push screens or the push screen on above each other. We will use navigator.push, and inside this we have to pass the context and the material page route. And we have already defined the second stateful widget, that is second onboarding screen, and I have defined that already. So now if we restart our application to take the effect of our code, so the application is up and running. So now if we drag our button and just leave it here, it will move back to its position on its own. So now if we leave it here, it will complete its path and it will shift to the next screen, which is the second screen. So now get into our second screen. We are going to change the background color of it, and we will set the colors.white. And before changing another thing, let's take a look what we are going to achieve in this screen. In our next video, what we are going to achieve is this. We have a list view at the bottom of screen and a button, and at the top, as you can see, that there are two animations going on. First one is the image that is moving vertically, and behind that we have circles, different circles with different colors that are animating after every second. So first of all, what we will do is we will remove this text widget, and in place of that we will add safe area, so our widgets do not go into the notch area of our phone. So after that we will use column, as our widgets are going to be aligned vertically. So first of all, what we will do is we will develop our screen first, the required widgets that are required. After that we will move towards the animation part. The animation functionality we will do after we have completed our structure. So first of all, what we need at the top is we need our image to show on the top of the screen. So for that purpose I am going to use image.asset, as we have done in our previous screen, and inside image.asset we have to provide the path of the image that we are going to use. So in my case it's inside assets folder with the name of character-2.png. I am going to give it a width of 200 and a height of a 200. As you can see that the image is on the left side of the screen, so we will wrap it inside the center widget, and now the image is in the center of our mobile screen. So after our image widget, what we need is we need to have a text widget. Inside this text widget we will show the tagline to the customers that visits our application. So in this scenario I have already copied the tagline and I have pasted it here. You can use any other tagline, whatever you want to use. So as you can see that the text is not properly styled. So what I will do is we will use style property of the text. We will use style property, and inside this we will pass text style. And inside text style, as you know that we can change the font size, font weight, or the color of the text. So in our scenario I'm going to set the font size equal to 16 and the font weight equal to font weight dot bold. And as far as the color goes, we will use color property of text style, and we will set it to colors dot black. And now let's reload our project. So before reloading, let's align our text to the left side of the screen. Let's text align dot left of the screen. So as you can see that we can give the padding from the sides. It's not properly aligned in the center, or as you can see that it's on the edges of the screen. So what we can do is we can wrap our text inside a padding, and for padding we will use edge insets dot symmetric, and inside this I am going to pass 20 pixel horizontally. As you can see that now our text looks more beautiful now. So after that what we need to do is we need to give some space because we are going to use the list view down here. So for this purpose I will use size box, and I will give it a height of 20 pixels. And now for the list view we are going to use list view dot builder, and it requires two parameters. First one is the item builder, as you can see it is on the screen, and second one is the item count. These two are compulsory. So the item builder, it takes two parameters. Firstly it takes the build context. In our case we have context, and secondly it takes the index, the length which we will provide. So in our item builder what it will return is it will return as a list style. So as you can see, let's put a comma at the end, and as you can see that I have already defined the list of strings for onboarding lines. As you can see that I have mentioned at the bottom of the screen. So in our list screen let's add comma and indent our code. Before that let's add item count, that the required property is. And for the item count I am going to use the onboarding lines, the array defined down below, and I will give it the length to the item count dot length. And for the list style, inside list style first I will set the content padding of the list style to 0. For this purpose we will use edge insets dot 0, and after that list style have a leading property. For the leading property we can use any icon, you can use any other widget you want to use, and in my scenario I am going to use icon, and for the icon I will use icon dot check circle. So it will be a circle checked circle. And for this the color I am going to use is we will use the colors dot teal. As you know that in our previous screen the background was teal, and in this scenario we are going to give the checks box green color, teal color, so that it's in the harmony of our app. After that we will give the title to our list style. For the title we will pass the strings that we have defined in the onboarding line array. So how can we use that? We will use onboarding lines, and inside this we will pass the index property that is coming from the item builder. And for the text styling we will use text style, and as you know that inside text style we can change the font size. We will set it to 14 pixels, and the font weight, for the font weight we will set it to font weight dot normal. So we have to remove this constant to get rid of this red warning, and now we are done with it. What we will do is we will wrap our list view dot builder in expanded widget. It will expand the whole screen whatever it needs. Now as we have reloaded our project, you can see that our list view is showing on the screen, but same as in the text case, we have to give the padding from the sides, and in this scenario we will give the same padding. We will use edge insets dot symmetric, and for the horizontal we will give it a 20 pixels. As you can see that now the list style is done, list view is done. So after that we will what we will do is we will define a button at the bottom that we are going to use. For this purpose I will use a container, and for the width we will use the same strategy that we have done in our previous screen. We will use media query dot of context dot size dot width, and this time we will multiply it with 0.4. We can also use the minus some pixels, or we can multiply it with 0.4 to make the value less. After that I'm going to give it a height of 60, and for the decoration in container, as you know, we use box decoration, and inside box decoration we will use border radius, and for the border radius I'm going to give it a circular radius of 40. As you can see that the button we have a container at the bottom of our screen. So after that what we will do is we will pass the child property to the container, and for the child we will use text, and inside text we will give a string of order now. And as far as the styling goes, we will use a text style, and for the text style we will set the font size equal to 18.0, and for the color we are going to use colors dot white, and we will set the font weight. Let's set the font weight to font weight dot bold, so make it more emphasized. So now we are done with the button. Let's add constant to remove the warnings, and now if we reload our project, you can see that order now is on the left side. It is not properly aligned in the center of the button. So what we can do is we can simply wrap our text inside the center widget. As we can reload our project, and as you can see that the order now is right in the center of our mobile screen. I have also increased the width from multiplying 0.4 to 0.5. So now our button looks fine. Let's give some space from the bottom. For this purpose I am going to use size box, and I will give it a height of 20 pixels. So now I am done with the list view, the button, the text, and the image. So what we will do is now I am going to give some spacing up at the top so that our widgets are equally divided on the screen. For this purpose I am going to give a size box with a height of 40 pixels after our image. Now it looks fine, and after that what we will do is we will try to animate our image. So for this purpose what we need to do is we will use animated builder. Let's correct my spellings, and this time I'm going to use animated builder. Why we are using animated builder? Because we want to control the animation through the controller, and we also want to control the builder of it, so how it moves and how the image pan out. So in this case we are going in the animation parameter, we will use underscore controller. Let's define our animation controller above inside our state class. So what we will do is we are going to use a late modifier for our animation controller, and let's define animation controller and give it a name of underscore controller. So now as from my previous videos on the animation, you know that whenever we need to use the animation controller, we have to extend our class with a single ticker provider mixer. So we have extended our class with single ticker provider state mixer, and so now let's override our init state method. Init state method is the method that runs whenever the widget is loading. Before the build method is run, init state is called. So after calling the super.init state, we are going to initialize our animation controller. So how we can initialize is we will use underscore controller and set it equal to animation controller, which expects the property vsync, and inside vsync I am going to use this property. This defines this class, and in the duration I am going to use duration of the seconds 4 seconds. Let's give it 4 seconds. Let's add constant to remove the yellowish warning that we see underlying the code. So after that I am going to set it equal to repeat. So how can we set our animations to repeat it after every 4 seconds? We will use underscore controller dot repeat, and inside this I will set a reverse property to true. Let's come back to our code, and we have to return some widget inside our builder method here. So what we will do is we will so inside the builder callback we have to return some widget to show it on the screen. So in this scenario, in our previous animation we used only transform widget. So in this scenario we are going to use transform dot translate widget because we are going to give some offset to it. So let's use transform.translate, and it has a parameter named offset which is required. So in our scenario we will set offset equal to, for the x-axis we will set it equal to 0 because we do not want it to animate horizontally, and for the y-axis we will set it equal to underscore controller or animation controller and dot value steric minus 60 because I want the image to animate from top to then bottom. So we are done with it. Now let's restart our application to see the changes what we have done in our code. So let's move to the next screen. As you can see, animations are working fine. Let's move to the next screen, and now as you can see that the image is not showing. So what the problem was, I haven't added the child property of the transform.translate here. So we will simply copy our code down below for the image.asset and paste it here. Then we will again restart our application. Let's move to the next screen, and as we move to the next screen you can see that the image is animating fine. It is in a vertical motion from 70 pixels. It is moving from 70 pixels up and then down. So next step what we want is we want to have some animating circles behind this image, as we have seen in the demo. So in this scenario we will use animating circles, and inside the widgets directory I will try to create a new file with the name of animating underscore circles. So in our animating circles what I will do is I will create a stateful widget with the name of animating circles. Let's remove these errors by importing our material.dart file, and in our second screen, second onboarding screen, let's call the animating circles widgets, and now the errors are gone. So now we can focus on animating circle. So what we want here is we want to have 3 circles that are animating after each one after 1 second, and the colors are different. All of them are the shades of colors gray. So first of all we will define our variables that are required while creating this widget. So first of all what we will do is I am going to create a variable for the first circle, which will be a boolean, will be its data type, and we will give it a name of is first circle visible, and we will set it equal to false. Let's create all other variables that we required, and second one will be the boolean is second circle visible, and we are going to set it equal to false initially, and in the next scenario bool is third circle visible, we are going to set it equal to true in this scenario. And we will use the init state method here because we want to define the durations here. So inside our init state method it is compulsory to call the super.init state, and after that let's create a new function with the name of underscore show circles. Let's create a new function. We will create a new function void show circles. We will add open and close parentheses, and after that we will use open and close curly braces with async keyword, and inside this we will check, we will use a while loop and a while case, and inside this we will check if it is true, and then inside the curly brackets we will use await keyword here, and we will use future dot delayed, and inside future dot delayed we have to pass a parameter with the name of duration. So inside duration we will set the duration equal to 1 second, because we are going to animate every circle after 1 second. So we will do it according to that. We will set the booleans equal to false and true after every second. So now what we will do is, in our first scenario we will set is second circle visible equal to true, because in our initial state our third circle is visible. So now after we have set our second circle visibility equal to true, we will again use another future dot delayed method with the keyword await, and inside this we will pass the same duration. We will set the duration equal to 1 second, and inside the set state method this time we will use this is second circle visible. We will copy it from here and paste it down here, and we will set it equal to false. Not only the second circle, we will also copy the is first circle visible, and we will paste it down here, and we will set it equal to false, because we are going to only animate one circle at a moment. So we are going to copy this is third circle visible, and we will paste it here, and we will set it equal to true. Let's set it equal to true, because there may be a different approach to do this, but I found it easy to do this in way. And next I will simply copy the above and paste it down here, and we will simply change the boolean values after 1 second what we want to do. So in our second case we had a second circle visible. Let's remove it from here. We do not want it there. Here we only want to set the first circle visible equal to true. Okay, in our last future dot delete method, we have an error here. We have to add the underscore here to resolve this. We have added the underscore show circles. So now our show circle method is complete. In our last future dot delete, we have set all the values equal to false except the third circle visible, which is equal to true. So now we will move towards the build method. So inside build method we are going to use custom paint, which is a Flutter widget, and inside custom paint I am going to provide the size widget, and inside size we will use 250 width, and for the height I am also going to use 250. It will custom paint, it will define the space in which or animation will take place, or in which we are going to develop a custom circle painter. So the sizes we have given, width is 250 and the height is 250, and for the painter parameter we are going to create another class with the with the name of circle painter, and inside circle painter we will extend it with custom paint, because we are going to custom painter because we are going to use some properties of this class. So as we have extended to custom painter, we have to create two missing methods. We have to override these two methods. First one will be the paint and second one will be the should repaint. So now what we will do is, inside our paint we will define the logic, how we want our circles to animate and how we want our circles to change color. Okay, so first of all what we will do is, we will require some parameters. So we will simply copy from above and we will paste it down here. We will define these three variables. First, final, all of them will be boolean and all of them will be final. So firstly let's copy is third circle visible, and we will paste it down here. Let's add a semicolon at the end of it. Similarly we will define other two variables also. Let's copy this and paste it two times down below, and let's replace third with second circle visible, and for the third we will replace it to is first circle visible. So now we have defined a variable. Now we need to have a constructor for this class. We will create the constructor circle painter, and we will use open and close parentheses and semicolon at the end. And inside this we have to call all these three variables. This dot is third circle visible. Similarly for the second one we will use this dot is second circle visible, and for the third one we will use this dot is first circle visible. So now we are done with the constructor. So it's showing us error on our circle painter above, circle painter widget above. So we need to call these parameters here. So first of all, let's copy from down below and paste it here. We have pasted, or is third circle visible? Similarly, for the is second circle visible? Let's paste it above. And similarly, let's go down and copy is first circle visible, and paste it above here. So now the error is gone. In circle painter, let's add a constant to the size to remove this yellow warning. So now we have created our circle painter class, and we have added the parameters that are required to control the animations. Yeah, so what is the next step? So in the next step, we are going to paint or canvas, we can say canvas, for our circles to animate. So for this case, what we will do is we will use the paint widget of Flutter defined default in default Flutter. We are not using any third-party packages. So for the paint, the first property is color. We will use two dots, color is equal to colors.gray, and we will give it a shade of 100. And the second property which we will use is we will use the style property of the paint, and we will set it equal to painting style dot stroke. And next we have to define three paints, and we are going to because we have three circles, that's why we have to define three paint widgets. So in our next paint widget, we will name it paint 1, and we will change the color, and this time we will give it a shade of 300. Let's give it a shade of 300. And for the style property, I am going to use painting style dot stroke. And for our final paint, what we will do is we will give it a name of paint 2, and inside our paint widget we will give it a color. So in our third paint widget, what we will do is we will set the color, and we will set it equal to colors.gray, and this time we will give it a 300 shade of gray color, because we are making our circles one by one darker. So in this scenario, for the style property, we will again use the painting style dot stroke. So now, as we have defined all the required circles, we are going to define the centers of the circle where it is going to be inside our canvas. So what we will do is we will use the offset property, and inside offset we are going to pass the size dot width, the size we have defined above for our painter. And for the height, we will divide the width by 2, and for the height we will use size dot height, and again we will divide it by 2. So now we have defined our center variable. Let's add semicolon at the end. And after that, what we want is we want to define a radius for the circles. For the radius, we are going to use three different paints, three different paint widgets, because we are going to show three different circles. So in this scenario, we are going to define radius for all of the circles. So for our first circle, we will use radius 1, and we will set it equal to size dot width, and we will divide it by 2 and minus 10 from it. And for the radius 2, what we will do is we will simply use the radius 1 that we have defined above, and we will minus 20 from it. And similarly, for the third circle radius, what we will do is we will again use the radius 2 that we have defined above, and we will minus 20 from it again. So now we have defined our radiuses, and we have defined the center, and here we will use if conditions to check whether this circle is visible or not. So first of all, we will check if is third circle is visible. We will check if it's true, then we will go inside our condition, and we will draw our canvas. For this, what we will do is we will use canvas, the parameter that we gave to our paint method, and we will use canvas dot draw circle. And the draw circle required three parameters. Firstly, it requires the center, the positioning, second it requires the radius, and third it requires the paint widget what we want to draw. So for our third circle, we will use radius 3, and we will use a paint 2. Let's copy this condition and paste it down below 2 times more. And secondly, we will check if our second circle is visible or not. Let's copy a code from above, and let's paste it down here. Is second circle visible? What we will do is we will keep the center parameter. We will change the radius and paint. We will change the radius to 2 and paint to 1. So in our last circle condition, we will use is first circle visible. If the circle is visible, we will change the radius to 1, and we will change the paint to only paint. And in our should repaint method, we have to remove this exception, and we will return true that we want to repaint these circles. So now we are done with our animating circles .dart file. We have created our circle painter successfully. So now let's restart our application. So now our application is working. Let's check our animation. Beautiful, this animation is working. The title is changing, as you can see above, as the draggable behavior of the button. If we drag it to 80%, it will shift to the new screen. As you can see that the animation is working fine, but the circles are not completely drawn. You can see the edges of the circle. So what the problem is here, we have given the colors .gray, and we have given the colors to all of them. We haven't mistakenly given a white color. Okay, so the mistake is we have given painting style, and we have used painting style dot stroke. The stroke is only showing the edges of the circle. So what we can do is we can change it to painting style dot fill. Let's change all the paint widgets to painting style dot fill. Now let's again restart our application to make the changes take place. So as you can see that now by changing it to painting style dot fill, the circles are animating, and at a moment after every second the circle is changing and they are in the harmony. So now we have completed our application. Beautiful animations for our onboarding screen. Let's go to our main.dart file. I have used here a first onboarding screen as our home screen. So whenever we restart our application, or the user restarts our application, it will jump to the first onboarding screen, as you can see. So that's it for this video. We have created two beautiful and minimalistic onboarding screens with basic animations. Please make sure to like this video and leave a comment down below, and also please subscribe to my YouTube channel, as it provides fuel to my motivation to keep sharing with you what I know.